Welcome back to Slow Living. My name is Esther and I sew stuff to support a slow, sustainable lifestyle. I also like to explore self-development and things that challenge me to learn and grow. In this video, I'll be sharing 12 things that you can sew for bub. These are really great DIY gift ideas because you can add that really special handmade touch and you can customize these things, and I've tried to make them super practical. Being a mum, I think I know a little bit better now than I did before what actually comes in useful and what make really beautiful gifts. I thought of making this video because it's currently Lunar New Year and I really wanted to make an outfit for my little one, a traditional Chinese outfit, but I totally ran out of time. I've got so many things on the go. And so I was looking back at some of my other footage and I made this hanbok. A hanbok is traditional clothing of Korea. And so I made this for my little one, and I'm gonna butcher this, but it's called a baekgyeol, which is the 100-day celebration of the baby. I didn't film a tutorial because I was 3 months postpartum and did not have the capacity for that, but it reminded me of all the baby things that I sewed in the lead up to my bub coming, and even while my bub was really small, I did manage to get a few things sewn up, and I do have footage of all that stuff. So I thought putting all those things into the one video and giving you some inspiration for what you can sew for a baby would be a really good idea. If you would like full step-by-step tutorials of any of these ideas, leave a comment below. And also, if you find the video helpful or useful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you are into sewing, sustainability, and also self-development. Let's get started. This is the hanbok I made for my little one's 100-day celebration that I mentioned earlier. It's far from perfect, but I'm really quite proud of myself for attempting this during that whole newborn phase. This isn't really one of my baby gift ideas, but it could be inspiration for you to create a gift that is very customized or sentimental for whoever you are gifting to. This could include special characters like cartoons or maybe TV shows that you know they love, or traditional clothing, or even sporting uniforms. It really is one of the best things about being able to sew is that you can make these really sentimental, customized treasures that are really valued, very personal, and that can be passed on. Now I'll move on to my first baby gift idea, which is a bit of a 3-in-1 project. It involves 3 mini projects that each serve a purpose in themselves, but then they come together for this one big project. I looked on Pinterest for lots of different ideas and I finally decided on this concept. It was to make a playmat with a hoop that sat on the playmat, which I could then attach these little numbers to commemorate each month as Bub grew older. I decided on this concept because I really wanted something consistent that would show Bub's growth, so I could compare her size to the playmat itself and also to Teddy and Bun Bun each month for scale. It was also something that was easy to store and get out and put away each month rather than recreating, a photo shoot every month that was well outside my capacity at that point. So like I said, it is a 3-in-1 project. The first part involves making the play mat, which are really practical, and having multiple can actually make things more convenient. For example, I had one in the living room and kitchen, I had another one in the car for when we were out and about, and then I had another one that was in her play space. I used remnant quilting batting for the softness and a bit of padding in the playmat, so that's a great way to use up scraps that you might have or any leftovers. You can see it's been cut up and they're all random shapes and sizes, so I just pieced it together and overlapped some of the parts to make up a circle shape for the mat. I also used remnant linen squares. I had cut these up for making masks during COVID and didn't need them anymore, so I basically just sewed them back together again, which created quite a nice quilting look. And I used dead stock denim from my stash to create the other side. I also did some top stitching to add a bit of detail. So it's really up to you. You can look up lots of different designs and lots of options for how you would like to put together your mat. Just ensure that you can wash them, because of course if Bub's going to be lying on them, they're going to need to get washed, and the easiest way to wash things is to put it through the machine. So keep that in mind. The second part is the hoop that I got from Decathlon. I then used remnant cotton labels from my previous business. I sewed them into long strips that would then go around the hoop, and then I added these sections where these little loops that I had bought could attach. I would say these loops were really not great. I would recommend buying a different brand of loops because these just did not stay, and obviously then don't serve their purpose. Anyway, that's a different story. I didn't want to just attach the loops around the hoop itself because I wanted them to be spaced out evenly, and also I had initially planned to make this into a sensory hoop where you can add links to add toys, bells, rattles, things that stimulate Bub, but I actually never got around to that part, which I'm still quite sad about because looking on Pinterest, there are some great creative ideas there. Maybe I'll make another one. Anyway, it really bothered me that the hoop wasn't round anymore because I made the decision to cut it in order to attach the fabric. In hindsight, I'd probably figure out another way to get the fabric on without cutting the hoop so that it would stay nice and round. The last part of the 3-in-1 project is sewing the letters and numbers. I sewed these from remnant linen. Again, I had so much left over from making COVID masks, and I stuffed them with offcuts. I've seen this done with felt and a blanket stitch, and that would be a lot easier. The way that I did it was I machine sewed around the letters before flipping them inside out, stuffing them, and then closing them by hand. But really, it would be a lot easier to use felt or a fabric that is not going to fray and using a blanket stitch instead. I don't think I fully grasped this at the time, but I'm so glad that I made this monthly photo a thing with my Bub. It really was a labor of love because I was not prepared enough to have all of this made before she arrived. So I kind of managed to make the hoop and mat before she arrived, but then I sewed each of the letters literally days or the week before I wanted to take the photos each month. Most of the months were actually a bit late. So for example, at the 5-month mark, I know that she was actually nearly 6 months, but overall it achieved the memories that I wanted to create and tracking Bub's growth over that first year. I will keep the numbers and hang them in Bub's room as decoration eventually, so they can definitely be used for other play purposes as well when you no longer need them for the photos. Something I have been making for most of my friends is a towel set. I already have a tutorial up for this hooded towel, and I'll be working on a different version with the binding soon. I've been customizing them with the baby's name, which is such a fun touch, and they've made a really practical gift because you really need a rotation of 2 or 3 towels, so it doesn't matter so much if they're gifted more than one. To go with the towel, I usually have offcuts of fabric that are perfect for washcloths. Again, they're really well received because you need a good stash for bath time or just general cleaning up after Bub, and these are a great sustainable alternative to wipes. I used and still use disposable wipes, so I'm not coming for anyone, but it's a great option if you're able to switch to reusable cloths instead, and it'll also save you money, or them money if you're giving it as a gift, not having to buy wipes in the future. We still use these for my Bub now, and she's a toddler, and you can have fun with customizing these however you like. Next up, I made a bunch of cot sheets. Again, you need at least 3 or so on rotation because you best believe that as soon as you put one set in the wash and a fresh sheet is on the cot, baby will wet the bed or have a poo explosion, and it's just guaranteed. I had a co-sleeping bassinet, a pram adaptable bassinet, a bassinet-sized cot, and then expanded that into a regular-sized cot, so that is a lot of sheets. While standard rectangular cots have standard sheet sizes, most other bassinets have different sized mattresses and therefore different sized sheets. So if you pick a round cot like me, then the sheets are also a little bit more spenny, and being able to sew my own was probably the only reason that I considered this cot. I tried to film a tutorial around how to measure and make custom round bed sheets, but I've never edited it, and the math, I'm not even sure the math is right. So I'm not confident in my method, but let me know if you're interested and I will go back and revisit it and try to see if I can make it work. My next idea is for reusable nappies and inserts. While the outer part of a reusable nappy can be really intimidating, I'm not sure that I would attempt making those because they look intimidating. Go for it if you think you can do it. But definitely for the inside that help absorb all of the liquid, they require far less sewing. So these are really great for sewing in bulk and for people who you know that might be taking on reusable nappies instead of disposables. I did intend to try reusable nappies myself because I'm really aware of the environmental cost, but I honestly wasn't committed from the beginning and I wasn't prepared enough. And when Bub arrived, we went straight into disposables and then basically survival mode. So I never had the urge to try them from then on, but I do have friends that successfully used them and loved them. So if this is high on your priority list or for your friend,
Have a go at these. The inside parts are really easy to make. I actually had a friend who allowed me to borrow some of her inserts so that I could copy the shape of them. So that's what you see in this footage here. So perhaps if your friend has already committed to a brand or yourself, you can borrow one of their inserts and then trace around that shape and create your own inserts. I wanted to make mittens for my little one for fun, not really from a functional perspective because we don't live in a super cold climate and she wasn't scratching or anything like that, but my sister did mention that she had bought a few pairs for her little one to prevent scratching and flaring up eczema. So obviously, also, if you live in a very cold climate, these would be a really practical, wonderful gift. I wasn't confident in my tutorial, so I was halfway through filming and I kind of ditched the whole idea. But I would recommend searching YouTube for a mitten tutorial and you'd be able to find something. I thought I would mention some things that generally get given in abundance. These are things like bibs, clothing, toys, and especially soft toys. Don't get me wrong, I've purchased my fair share of soft toys, but sometimes it's really nice to think outside the box for gifts. And it's worth mentioning that clothes do make beautiful gifts, and they're even better if you can sew them yourself. I barely sewed any clothes for Bub until she was a year old. At that point, I went back to work and I filmed some tutorials that involved children's clothing, so Bub got to model those a lot for me. There are a myriad of children's sewing patterns out there, so I do recommend supporting small local designers where you can. I worked with Lowland Kids for the kids clothing tutorials, so you can find some tutorials there if you're looking for patterns, and they do have a few free ones that you can access if you're looking. I am also on board the gift the mother, not the baby train, especially when it's a first-time mum. Mum needs all the care from others because mum is giving all her care to baby. Mum needs food, comfort, words of encouragement, mental and physical rest. So if you can, gift things like meals, groceries, time, and even special things that might brighten mum's day, like a cute scrunchie. I'll link a tutorial for you below. The intangible gifts are really invaluable and practical if you don't have a big budget, and I know that these were some of the gifts that I still remember from my own postpartum stage, the ones that gifted me time and rest. I did sew a few practical gifts for mothers, so I thought I would include them here. The first are reusable breast pads. I already have a tutorial up walking you through exactly how to sew these. They're a really simple, reusable substitute for disposable breast pads, so I highly recommend these if you know that mum is breastfeeding. I also made the bag for them to go in, but I kind of overthought that concept a bit. I wanted the bag to have a waterproof section to put the used pads, and then a different section to put the fresh, clean ones. It did kind of work, but anyway, the bag is also in the same tutorial, so I'll link that, and if you're interested, go and watch that video. That was also a really good project to use up scraps. I also made a breastfeeding t-shirt for one of my friends. It didn't turn out exactly as I'd hoped, and I never ended up sewing it for myself because postpartum life. You can search for some good tutorials. You can use a sewing pattern for a basic t-shirt and split the front into two sections where you want the opening to be. Then make sure that you add some fabric on either side of that split so that the fabric is overlapping when worn. That's the mistake that I made when sewing my version, is that I didn't add enough on each side, so when worn the bra would occasionally peek through, which is not what we want.
So there we go. I hope that this video was helpful for you. I hope that you found some inspiration, or maybe it sparked some of your own ideas for what you could gift for a baby and their mother. I would love to see if you attempt any of these projects. I love to see people's work in progress. You can find me on Instagram at Slew Living, where I post a lot more behind the scenes stuff and reels and that kind of thing. So head over there and follow me on that if you aren't already. Feel free to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful. I will see you in another video soon. Bye.